OpeCast. Today, I'm in a different location. I have a special guest, Joaquin Buckley. What's going on, man?
Man, everything good, bro. You know, almost fight week and getting excited, man. Got a fight coming up this weekend, May 11th. So, yeah, we turning up.
So you've been training. I've been seeing your videos. You're running up the hill, making it look easy.
Yeah, man. So right now we dedicated this fight camp to St. Louis. Usually I train out of Michigan and Lansing with my coach, Joaquin Buckley, with Justin Hardick and Nick Simmons. But I told him, hey, just settle in Michigan, man. I'm going to come to Missouri, come to St. Louis, and get that work in old school-wise. So I've been working with my guy Travis Brown, Reggie Thompson, my man back here, Edric Dillard. And, we just getting ready here like we always used to, you know what I mean, before I was in the UFC. So we just taking it back a little bit.
Let's take it back then, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your St. Louis upbringing and, how in the heck did you get into, fighting like this and UFC? So let's talk about that journey.
The journey was a simple one, just a dream, right? I've always been into mixed martial arts, especially with the movies, man. Bruce Lee, Michael Jai White, Jean-Claude Van Damme, you name them. I used to always be inspired by these guys. And one day, looked up on YouTube, I was seeing some guys get knocked out, looking at Chuck Liddell, looking at Rashad Evans, Rampage Jackson. I'm like, oh, man, this shit is real. So, with that being said, it's just I took the nerve of when I was in high school to wrestle because I realized even at that early age that was the base for MMA. So I started off wrestling in high school. And then after I graduated from high school, I looked up on Google, my first gym, which was Finney's MMA, and then I just never looked back since, so that's how we got started.
So I heard you're a big fan of boxing, right?
Yeah, I love boxing. Yeah.
So who are some of your guys that you've watched growing up, and who are some of the ones you're watching now?
Some of the guys that I've definitely been inspired by, of course, everybody, Mike Tyson, but other names like Marvin Hagler, one of the Four Horsemen. And as well as, some guys don't know this name, but very historic, Jack Johnson, one of the first black heavyweights to, touch that belt. And he was a real dog back in the day, knocking out people, in times where, racism could get you killed, you know what I mean? And it wasn't against the law, to murder a black man, right? So I feel like Jack Johnson was a big inspiration to me when it came to boxing. But, you got newer guys like, Terrence Crawford, Gervonta Davis, as well as another kid named Ennis Boots. So, I try to keep up with boxing a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think it was like last year I met Michael Spinks. He got his star on the St. Louis Walk of Fame. And then I learned about Leon Spinks.
Yeah. So,
one knocked out Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
Bro, St. Louis guys.
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of fighters that come out of this region in the Midwest. So just like you spoke about the Spinks brothers, we as well had Archie Moore. We had as well as Devin Alexander. And now when you talk about MMA, right, Tyron Woodley has came from here. Don't want to mess his name up. It's on the tip of my tongue. But he was also one of the first guys in the UFC to fight, and he was from St. Louis. But when he fought in the UFC, he had one glove, so he was a boxer. And but don't want to mess his name up on camera. But he was from St. Louis as well. But you got a lot of talented fighters that come from this region.
So I feel like that's a good transition. So we're talking about Tyron. He fought Jake Paul. You got Jake Paul fighting Mike Tyson. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think it's kind of crazy that they even set the fight up between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul just because the age difference and that, Mike Tyson is almost, 60 years old and still about to go out there. And, I mean, this is not an exhibition. This is an actual, straight commission fight.
Oh, really?
So,
I didn't know that part.
It is, right? Okay. So there's no headgear, right? There's no 16-ounce gloves. This is going to be a real boxing bout. But how do I feel about it? I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of the idea. But it's gonna make Mike money. It's gonna make Jake money. So those grown men, so they can make their own decisions on what they're gonna do.
And it brings attention to the sport too.
Yeah.
And not always in a great way.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like what was it? The other brother, he's doing was it WWE?
Mm-hmm.
So
yep.
You're not even thinking about that kind of stuff. But what are your thoughts on the YouTubers and things like that getting into fight? Because the other day, Dante, you're showing him some pointers. I think he has a little work. He has to do.
We all got a little work. That part I have no issue with. Anybody can be a fighter. Everybody's a fighter. It's just having that certain level and experience, right? it should always be competitive, right?
Yep.
So with the YouTubers and the streamers coming in, I don't mind it because it's entertainment at the end of the day. So when you got these guys like, well, even like Elon Musk, right? And what's that boy name again? Mark Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah.
Coming together talking about they want to fight. You know, regardless of how trash of fighters they are, it's still people who want to watch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to see people with the same amount of level of experience, whatever, go out there because it's gonna be entertaining at the end of the day. But you can't send somebody out there like Mark Zuckerberg versus John Jones. Like, you know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna be able to sell that whatsoever. Right, so it's the entertainment business, you know. So I don't mind the YouTubers, you know, coming in and jumping in and trying to get a little bit, you know, clout and experience from it.
Let's talk about right now. You're getting ready here for a fight. You're going around St. Louis. You're running up Art Hill. You're running around town. You're training all over. What has that process been like?
That's something I've been doing for a long time, since I was 14 years old. Be honest with you, never had a purpose of doing it. It was just something I always enjoyed. So, you know, now just seeing things come back full circle, you know, training for this fight and being able to go back and look at the things that I used to do that actually worked, right, and got me to the point where I am today. It's just, you know, just a good reminder, man, like, you know, the things that work, you know, keep doing it, you know what I mean, and keep working on it. I feel like not just even running Art Hill, but just the mentality of what I had when I was younger. I keep that dog mentality at all times. So I can remain, you know, pretty much grounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get away from the things that got me to the UFC, right? Because I think those things that got me to the UFC is going to keep me in the UFC. So, you know, I'm glad that we back home and doing what we need to do.
You weren't on the cart here. So how were you able to get on that?
Right. So how that all came about, I had a fight with Vicente Luque. It was a last minute fight. Sean Brady had pulled out. Dana White had hit me up and told me, like, not personally, but had hit up the management and told me that, you know, do I want to take the opportunity to get a ranking? And I told him yes. But the thing was, though, at the time, they said, okay, you might not have an opportunity to fight in your hometown. In my head, I'm like, nah, forget that. I still want to fight in my hometown. But, you know, I just took the opportunity of getting a ranking, and I went out there and I knocked out Vicente Luque in the second round. So as soon as I did that, it's kind of hard to get in contact with Dana White, the president himself. So I knew that my management was having a difficult time trying to get in contact with the UFC and trying to get me on the St. Louis card. So I knew it was one place that he had to show up and where he had to be, because that's his job, right? Mm-hmm. UFC 300. And I knew that at the press conference, he would be there. He'd be speaking to the fans. He'd be speaking to the crowd. And I just made sure that, you know, when I had an opportunity to speak to him and hop on the mic, that I, you know, do it, and to make sure to really ask for my opportunity. Because that's the thing. A lot of people, when they get a chance to do great things, right, they kind of cower away from it, right? Because they was like, man, I don't know if I can really live up to the expectation. But my thing is, bro, I go out there and fight for a living. So it's nothing to me to ask for what I actually want and what I feel like is going to help push my career even more. So when people's like, man, I'd be nervous or scared, I'm like, why? You know, it's like, this is the type of things that can push you to a better point in your career. So, you know, why not take that chance? Yeah, that's how we got on the card, though.
Man, that's awesome. Like,
pressing Dana White.
No, seriously, like, you had the balls to do it, man.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going to be in front of, 20-something thousand people in your hometown. What's the mentality going into this? You're here in St. Louis. You're not training in Michigan, obviously. You're here, and you're not just going to stay at a hotel. Like, you're literally driving up in your own car to the.
So, I mean, what it feels like is what I've been dreaming about this whole time. Everything that I've dreamt and spoke about, you know, is actually coming into, you know, reality. And I feel like for myself, it's just like it came at the right time, because now I'm a little bit more mature. You know, I'm 30 years old now. And it's just like everything that I felt like was almost not obtainable is right here in front of me now, right? So now it's just like, bro, I'm blessed. I'm beyond blessed. So it's not anything where it's just like, oh, man, it's too much pressure, man. I'm fighting in front of my family. This is what I want to do. This is part of it, right? This is part of the game. And I'm excited that, you know, I get the opportunity to fight in front of my, you know, my hometown.
Have you had a lot of family like, yo, hey, can I get tickets? You're like, hey, I gave out like 40. Now I'm having to buy these tickets.
Them days is over with. So we don't sell tickets, man. The UFC, they take care of all those things. So, you know, if you want a ticket, you got to hit up UFC.com or Ticketmaster, you know. So we ain't doing the footwork no more like we used to back in Shamrock, you know, handing out. Because, I mean, that's the one thing that was cool about it, too. that's how we had to promote for ourselves. We had to sell our own tickets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even if it ain't to your family, like you meeting random people around, like, hey, have you ever seen an MMA fight? And they said no. You explain who you are. Like, hey, I got a couple tickets if you want some. If you ain't doing nothing this weekend, right? So that's how you do your footwork. You promote for yourself. And I feel like some fighters then kind of got away from that. And I feel like if they start early in their career promoting themselves, when they first get started, it's gonna be a lot easier once they get here into the UFC.
And I've noticed that about you. You're going live with your fans, talking to them, engaging with them. It seems like it's different than most people. So what keeps you going at, engaging with your fans through social media?
The more people that I have tuned in, right, potentially the more money I make.
Yeah.
And with that being said, if I want to make a certain amount of money with the UFC, I know that I got to bring in the eyes, and I know I have to have a certain pretty much a viewership when it comes to when people watch me.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I step out into that cage, I want the numbers to go up because people calling and tuning in like, hey, bro, this dude Buckley is fighting right now. Y'all got to watch. Y'all got to tune in. That's what I want every single time. And the more that the UFC sees that, the more I'm able to, have somewhat of a negotiation with them when I'm talking about money.
Yeah, it's all about the eyes, the views, the clicks.
Yeah, and that bread.
Yeah, and the clicks. Like you have one of the most notable knockouts in UFC history. And so I have to ask, what is that feeling when you knock somebody out and the opposite end when you get knocked out?
Well, unfortunately, I've been on one end, and fortunately, I've been on the other end, right? So I've been knocked out, and I've knocked out people. Knocking out folks, when you touch them, they don't do nothing to you but get you excited, right? Yeah. So you have the thrill. It's almost like, being on a roller coaster ride. And, you have that point where you at the top, and then immediately you drop down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have this almost like this gravity-free feeling, right? When you see somebody's body go unconscious. Mm-hmm. Now, it might be terrible to other folks to hear this, but this is what you experience when you knock somebody out. It's almost like slow motion, right? That time is slowing down. Mm-hmm. But getting knocked out, people are like, man, does it hurt? You don't feel a damn thing.
It just happens.
It just happens. You lose a little bit of time when you wake up and stuff like that. But the only thing that hurt is your ego, right?
And it's a thing of the past, y'all. It's a thing of the past. It ain't happening again, right? We ain't ever happened.
Even if that was the case, it doesn't matter because this is what I accept. I accept death in the cage, right? And a lot of people look at me crazy when I say that, but the thing is, though, that's what happens, and that's what can happen within the cage. Mm-hmm. When you have two people out there that's two trained fighters at the highest level, we're deadly weapons. And any shot that you take, towards your brain, or getting hit the wrong way, getting slammed the wrong way, can cause you to lose your life. So if you're not willing to accept that, you probably shouldn't be in this sport whatsoever.
Before I let you go, Foodie Friday. So a few days ago, we were talking about different restaurants and places to eat.
I think it's one in U City. I think hopefully it's still there. I haven't been there in a while, but definitely if it's still there, I'm definitely going to be checking them out. But Philly's on Olive. I don't know if you ever heard of them.
I haven't.
They got some good Philly cheesesteaks over there, and they also got these riplet wings, wet wings. Honey riplet wings. That's pretty fire, right? So definitely them. Let's say some other spots.
Yeah.
I love Joey B's. Joey B's is a cool spot, everybody goes to and pop up to.
What about a celebratory meal? So after the fight, where are you going?
Let's say right after weigh-ins. What do I have? Actually, me and my boy Heisem, man, we're going to hit up some Chinese food, man. So we probably go to the Rice House.
Hey, let's go. Yeah, and you got to get down to 170, right?
Yeah, I got to get down to 170.
We're almost there?
Almost there. 13 pounds out.
Man,
easy work.
That's crazy. Hey, I wish it was easy for me, man, but I eat too much actually.
It's all good.
Now, 3 dinner guests.
Funny enough, I just stick it to what I'm like known for. But I would definitely have a sit down with Dana White, my boss, have a conversation with Floyd, and talk to Conor.
I think that's great right there.
All 3 of those guys.
Last bit, words of wisdom. Whether someone wants to get into the sport that you're in, or could be somebody listening to this going through a tough time in life. What are some words of wisdom?
I'm not big with the the motivation and the quotes, but just living from my experience. Don't stop. Doing whatever that you are proud of doing, that you dreamt of doing, and that you enjoy. Always find things that you love to do and keep doing it.
That's perfect. How can people follow you?
They can follow me on New Mansa 94 via Instagram. Also my YouTube channel, Joaquin Buckley Official. And yeah, that's where they can find me.
Hey, I appreciate your time, brother.
Appreciate you. Thank you.